Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're here to talk about board games and other somewhat related, sometimes not at all related nonsense.
Mostly not related.
At least for the first, 5 to 10.
It should be like 15 to 20, I think. First 15, 20 minutes, just nothing board game related, because that's what people show up for.
Correct. Yeah. That's clearly why people listen.
Yes.
Because after hearing us drone on for 15 minutes, they're like, please, we just want to hear anything about board games.
Please bring back the board games.
And then they're like, oh man, this is quality content because it's not the bullshit they were talking about earlier.
Yeah. See, we just sink below the bar.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we hit the bar.
Yep.
Because we set the bar. We set the bar pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the ground, so
Yeah.
we just dig down a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we can go back up.
Yes. Like that scene from Predator.
Yes.
Yeah. And predators can't catch us.
No.
In the ultimate trap.
Yes.
Oh, God. I don't even know what is happening anymore.
We were talking about Predator at the ski condo this weekend.
Yeah, we were.
Because you didn't believe that Jean-Claude Van Damme was
the original
original Predator before Kevin Nash
Yes, he was.
finally brought on. The famous wrestler,
Yep.
Diesel, if everyone would remember that, was finally the final Predator that you saw in like full makeup.
Yes, he was.
But I guess shots with Jean-Claude Van Damme as the Predator,
Did end up making it in, I think.
well, they were all the like stealthy, you can't even see the Predator anyways.
Yeah. It was funny, like, there's a YouTube clip that you can watch of somebody, like, talking about this and how Jean-Claude Van Damme, like, he was brought in for the movie and he was just super pissed off because he thought he was going to get to show off, like, his awesome martial arts moves and, like, stuff like that and actually fight Arnold Schwarzenegger. And instead, they had him put on this really awkward, clunky suit that was all red because, like, they were using green screen-ish technology.
but guess what? The forest is
red
green.
screen.
Yeah.
So, but he thought
Let's
that
do
was
green screen. Wait, we can't see anything now.
Yeah.
but he thought the red awkward suit that was really being red screened was just the alien. And apparently it really pissed him off.
Not surprised.
And so yeah, he left. But
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. Speaking of the ski condo,
Mm-hmm.
we had a great weekend of
Yes.
snowboarding, didn't we, Jeff?
Yes. Lots of powder. Like
24 inches of powder in 2 days
Yes.
that we were there.
which was about 23 more inches than it's seen all season.
Yeah, easily one of Keystone's biggest snows for Keystone's closing weekend.
Yes. The last 2
Oh, was
days.
this their last one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Okay.
closed on Sunday. Today was employees only. But,
Okay.
Apparently, supposedly part of the reason that they were having so many issues yesterday with like the gondola not running and things was because a shit ton of Keystone employees were like, it's the end of the season anyway. Fuck it. I'm not going to work. I'm going to go ride on this powder. And so they were very short on actual employees.
Aha.
But yeah, lots of good snow.
My first time on the powder.
Yep. And not only your first time on the powder, but on Saturday, Ant and I convinced you to hike about 10 minutes up higher into the mountains past the lift.
It felt more than 10 minutes.
It probably was 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's like, let's do a 20-minute hike in, I don't know, shin-deep snow.
Well, it was like a 10-minute hike and then a 10-second little ride.
Yes, which
And
was
then
a
another
significant
10-minute
distance.
hike.
Yeah.
And the ride, the 10-second ride is like a third of the distance.
Yes.
Um,
He just kind of dips down through a saddle there.
and then we were like, all right, Jeff, this is now your first time snowboarding in a back bowl at a ski resort where the powder is going to be waist deep. Have fun.
Go! No teaching at all on how to actually ride on it, because it is different.
Significantly different.
You have to have. It's like, remember when we're told never to put your weight on your back leg? Well, do that entirely now.
To do nothing other than that.
Yes. Or you will sink and you will fall over and you will struggle for the next 45 minutes to move forward through this waist deep powder.
Yeah.
As your board is at least 1.5 feet below the snow.
I had assumed that Ant, he's handled most of training you this season.
He
I
did.
assumed he had told you something about this.
He did not.
The only parts I was there for, like, when he's like, all right, Jeff, you go first and just remember, go straight. And the way he said, remember, go straight, I thought that was like a key part of his, like,
No.
telling you what to do and how to ride in this.
No.
Later on, you were like, oh yeah, he didn't tell me anything. I was like, oh, I'm real sorry, buddy. If I'd known that, I'd have given you some pointers.
Said just go first.
Yeah, because you didn't make it very far.
No,
Sounds like you had a great time, Jeff.
it was exhausting.
I'm not surprised. Would you do that again?
Maybe after I had a couple more powder, like regular powder days, just sort of ride on like, knee deep powder, which is what I did on Sunday, and sort of just learn how to ride that first. Because there was a run that I did that was super heavy, and I did okay at the last third to a quarter of that, where I learned kind of like how to keep my back weight on and just go straight and go fast, because you can't really go that fast, unlike on where it's tracked in and then you're like rocketing down. But
yeah, especially because I don't suppose you've waxed your board at all this season.
What? I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, so that helps slow you down in that thick powder.
What you do is you melt candles and you use that wax.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not far off.
Yeah, I know.
No, there's basically a big block of wax,
Yeah.
which is very similar to candle wax, and you have a little mini iron, and you just stick the wax on the iron and dribble it all over your board, and then you take the iron and you iron the wax you dribbled on your board till it gets a real smooth, fairly even layer, and you take a scraper, and then you spend an hour of exhausting fucking work scraping all of that wax back off your board so that there's a very thin, appropriate layer that basically just fills in a lot of the
I can understand why you haven't done that, Jeff.
I think I'm going to take it to one of those brewery parties where you just drop your board off for money and then they'll just wax it and you get a beer.
There you go.
I don't remember who it was. One of our friends last season, at the start of the season, his 13-year-old kid neighbor came by and was like, "Hey, do you have any skis or snowboard that need waxed? I'll do it for $5." He was like, "Oh, yes, here, take them. Please do this." And apparently the kid did a pretty good job.
All right.
So,
But it sucked. It was like, man, that was a sucky job.
yeah. Even then, it's $5.
Yeah, whatever.
Hooray, child labor.
Indeed. Lawns mowed, snowboards waxed,
Yes.
the classics.
Indeed. Right on. Zach, what'd you do this weekend?
Because you weren't with us.
No,
No,
You were
never.
we ditched you.
No, yeah, you're always just like, let's go up to the mountains because Zach's not up there.
I mean, that's why I go
I
to the
know.
mountains.
Zach can't reach us here.
Yeah.
That's number one. Snowboarding second.
Right, yeah.
Beautiful views third.
We played some PUBG earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That went well.
It did. We
Uh,
got a number 2 in there.
we did get a number 2 in there,
Couple top 10s.
Yep. But we had one of the best moments that I can remember in this game.
In quite a while.
And it's one of those moments where you're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then you set up and then you do it and you do it flawlessly.
And it's great.
It just feels great. Would you like to explain what happened, Jeff?
So we were in the most northern central city on the old island map
Yeah, we're on Severny.
in Severny, where we always like to drop. We saw one other guy drop with us, and he's like, "Oh, he's on the south side. I think he's alone. Let's go kill him."
Yep.
And so I dropped in the church in the middle of the city and grabbed something. Our friend Eric was playing with us. He had a pistol.
I dropped in the diner and I could just find a shotgun, and I was like, you know what? This is fine.
Yeah. And so Eric and I were sneaking up on him while Zach was kind of running through the city to us. And we ran into a building and sort of we're just trying to be like, well, he's over here and we just wait and watch. And he's like, oh, he's over in the yellow building. And I was like, all right, let's go fucking kill him.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much of a let's go fucking kill him. Let's hunt him.
Yes.
Stalk him,
Yeah.
I guess is a better word.
Yeah. And by the time I got to where they were, the guy had just gone into a blue building.
Totally oblivious to us.
Yeah, he did not notice us at all. And he started, right when I got in, I saw him going up to the second floor through windows.
And I was at the bottom floor. I could see the door. I was at the opened, and I could see the door on the opposite side. So unless he jumped out the second floor, he would come through me, which I had a pump shotgun, ready to blast him.
And then we see the second floor door open, and you're
It's
hearing
like a little
him
patio up there.
We see him just stand there. He's looting, and then
Both of you are in total cover.
Both of us were in cover. I had my pump. I had my over under shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what Eric had, but then we're just like, all right, if he jumps out of that second floor, I swear to God. And then basically there's a moment of silence, and then we just see him jump straight out. And then so that was the perfect time that I then come out of cover, 10 feet in front of him, my shotgun, shoot him while he's falling down, and then you hit him in the back.
Yep.
And then
that was it.
And then
I think Eric had a pistol.
Yeah, and he might have done one or two shots, but it was just like, all right, and he was just like, The guy was just walking around, and all of a sudden he jumps out, and then 3 people just pop out of nowhere and just
blast him in the middle of the air. Swarm.
Poor guy. He's probably some relative noob.
He was, and so we were playing 3-man squad, which just puts 3 players in the same scenario or the same map as people that are in 4-man squads.
up to 4-man squad.
Up to 4-man. But this dude was clearly like by himself, or the rest of his squad had already died because he immediately died.
Yeah, he immediately died. So
yeah,
it
I took his level 3 helmet.
Yeah, yes, he did. Which I was surprised
we ripped
didn't
him
hit
apart like fucking like a swarm of piranhas, like rah, just like all his loot.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, we stalked and killed our prey.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah,
nice.
It's a classic PUBG moment.
Yes, it was.
Right on. Well, what about board games? You guys played any board games recently? I know you have, Jeff.
No, I haven't played Blood Bowl recently.
You did play some Flow of History with us.
Oh, other games besides Blood Bowl.
Yes,
That's what you're talking
I know.
about.
You always forget about that, Jeff.
I know. There are?
There's more to life than Blood Bowl.
Yeah. No. Boo.
There's Blood Bowl too.
It's true. Played the Flow of History. Ant had got it. The TMG Deluxeified edition, which I guess is a new publisher for this game, because I guess it's been around since 2016.
Yeah, so this is by Jesse Lee, the guy that did Ponzi Scheme.
Okay.
And I think TMG was bringing this to
the masses.
To the masses. Yeah.
So after snowboarding, we decided to learn the game. This is the Deluxeified edition, so all the resource tokens have the fancy metal tokens. Everything has like the nice like gold leaf sort of look to it.
The outside box, especially the cover, just reflects everything. That thing was so shiny.
If you're ever lost in the woods, just bring that copy out and just start shining it at helicopters and airplanes.
It'll take the light being reflected in animals' eyes, and then it'll light up your path.
So what we're saying is Deluxeified editions are awesome.
Yeah.
So as a teaching game, learning game, all 5 players were new, learning straight out of the rule book. We were like, let's just do a round and call it, and we'll just kind of like do whatever. Because we were both all like glass side, just like, ugh. But once we actually started playing, the gameplay started to come through, and we're like, oh, okay, I'm liking this game a lot more than I thought. It's basically take the tech tree out of a Civilization game, and that's all the game is.
That's the game.
Yeah, that's it. You're bidding resources on different technologies of like 5 different colors that are like civics or culture or I don't know, green, blue, orange, red for military, etc. And then you put your tokens down and your marker, and then it goes around, and people can invest in other cards. But then there is the snipe ability, specifically called snipe, where you just straight give the person who has the investment that much money from your own stockpile. Their investment goes to the supply. Then the supply is divided by half, rounded down, and that also goes to the person who just got sniped. So you're just giving them a bunch of money, unless there's not enough money in the supply, and then it's just fuck you.
Sometimes happens, especially early game. There's
I'm
not a lot of money in the supply.
Yeah. But then you get that technology. There's only so many colors, but each card will go on that same color and will kind of like replace that older technology. But there's a little banner at the bottom that has certain icons that will have benefits in future cards. Like there's a little handshake negotiation one that you can get extra defense depending on how many of those little handshake tokens you have. Because there's a lot of attack cards, and the attack cards are fucking brutal. They'll just be like, lose a red card, lose an orange card, and some of these cards, and they're just the ones that are on top as long as we were playing it correctly, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, losing that card is huge because you could have some like tier 4, because I think there's 6 tiers of technology.
Yes.
If you lose like a tier 5 and you had like a tier 1 below it, that's just the technology you have now. So having enough, like,
I'm just imagining that. You're just like, all right, I guess we're just back to the fucking wagon now.
You have literally been bombed back to the Stone Age. But that's what, and so like having a military is important. There's not really there is definitely a defense strategy or an attack strategy.
And it looks like defense, because when you compare attack and defense, it's more favorable towards the defense person.
Yes.
So thankfully, and that's one of the things that does lend a little bit of balance to this. When you're attacking, it's only the attack symbols that count for your attack score. For the defender, it's all of their attack symbols and all of their defense symbols.
Yep.
And there's really not a ton of attack symbols in the game. So like in a 5-player game, for the most part, we stayed pretty even. There was like one time in particular that I jumped way ahead. I bought like a late round like fighter jets or something that had 5 attack on it and attacked everyone at the table. And those 5 put me like 1 or 2 above like 3 of the other 4 people. So I did get to attack 3 of 4 people.
I think I was the only one immune just because I had recently gotten the Manhattan Project through John Lennon and
and that's got just a shit ton of defense on it.
There are leader cards that you can get throughout history.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
you're like,
I've got nukes.
I've got these jets. I want to go shoot somebody. But he's got a nuke. I'm gonna go over here.
The best part is John Lennon's ability is like discard a red card and just get a tech off the trade row for free as long as no one's invested it. Just get it. And I was like, Manhattan Project.
Yes. And I know you can only have one leader
at a time.
Yeah, at a time. So you can get Ramesses in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then as you get new ones, you have to replace them.
Correct.
But you could technically just keep.
And a lot of the leader abilities have like an activation because most of the cards you get are just like once you buy it, you have an ability that happens once and then that's it. Some have a little gear on it that you can activate it on your turn as another action, which a lot of the leader ones are like scrap that leader, get a card. I kept getting screwed over and over in the game because to get that card, it has to be not invested. And in a 5-player game, there's a lot of invested stuff.
And that's, I don't think I'd want to play it at 5 again. Like it didn't break it, but man, it made it real hard to use some of those.
Yeah,
it's a investment like
a non-invested thing. You're right.
Yeah.
Especially because they're already like some of those, like the one you had, Jeff, that was take the green one, an uninvested green. There might only be one green, and it might be a while till the next green. So with a lot of people, it's probably going to get invested before your turn comes back around, and then it sucks sitting and waiting like that.
Because you have 4 more turns of cards coming and going, and it just has to hit the right card. Because there's only, 5? There was 5 spaces? 6 spaces for text.
Yeah, the row out in front from purchasing, there were 6.
6, yeah.
In a 5-player game, there were 6. And anything under 5 players, it's 5.
Okay.
So, the 5th player adds a 6th spot. Otherwise, it's 5 spots.
Gotcha.
So I think 3 would probably be a really good number for this because you'd have 2 open spots to take cards from, and you'd have an opportunity to take more from the same era. So you'd feel more of a natural progression, I feel like.
Yeah, we were all pretty thin on the amount of cards we had, especially with attacks, because there's a lot of attacks that are attack all, and then that's like 3 or 4 cards being removed from the game.
Right, yeah.
And Julie got wrecked for a while with attack until finally she built a bunch of defense and then finally got Gandhi, which Gandhi's just like, when I buy attack cards, I can't attack anybody, but you also can never attack me.
Yes.
But he's late game, so.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But BGG really has this at 4, but there's not a ton of actual voters out there. But 3, 4, or 5 right now looks to be the to-do.
As in, those are the only well, you can, so it did come with a 2-player official from Rado
symbol on it.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's because he actually, I remember when this first came out, they either didn't have a 2-player version or their 2-player version wasn't good, and he came up with a variant, and then they're like, oh, okay, can we actually use that? And so that's why it's actually in here. I don't know if it's exclusive to the Deluxified edition or if it's just part of the game now.
Gotcha. I saw the card for it, but didn't really look much into how to play the 2-player.
Basically, it's just that something like one of those things gets bought every turn or every time it goes around to them or something like that.
Okay.
So it keeps it moving. It keeps flowing.
Okay.
The flow of history.
Yep.
But I really liked it.
I did too. For me personally, I know you disagree, Jeff, from our chat a little bit there, but for me, this officially killed 7 Wonders. 7 Wonders has pretty much been dead to me for a while. I'll play it occasionally, at game night if there's new people and I don't really have anything else going on. I don't dislike 7 Wonders. It just has issues that leave me less interested in actually playing it anymore. This, I think, kind of fixed a lot of what I don't like about Seven Wonders, but gave me similar feelings to what I do like about Seven Wonders. So I can't ever imagine, if this is an option, playing Seven Wonders over Flow of History.
Seven Wonders Duel killed Seven Wonders for me,
Right.
but I still like Seven Wonders.
But yeah.
What you get is
But
you
not
just
at
get,
not at 7 goddamn
No,
players.
well, you get
No.
you get 2 copies of Flow of History and
Uh-huh.
then 1 3-player game and 1 4-player game. There you go.
They're boom.
Done.
Perfect.
Just play adjacent.
Yeah.
No, it was good. I enjoyed it. Look forward to playing it some more.
Yeah. Especially now that we know, like, what, 3+ people that have a
Yes.
copy?
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty good buy. It was like $39?
Something like that. Yeah. And that was for the deluxeified version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember
I
wanting
was
to get
bummed
this.
because I remember me and Paul got our copy on the same day, and I was like, oh, but Adrian and Jeff and them are out, so I guess we'll try it on Wednesday or something like that. And then you sent a message. You're like, man, Flow of History straight up killed 7-1. I'm like, wait, you guys get to fucking play it? Like, who the fuck had it?
Yep, Ant got it as well.
Yeah.
So
We didn't really talk much about it just then, but there is a fuckload of icons and iconography and iconography is how you correctly say it.
Iconography?
Yeah, that's the one. That is not very well spelled out, and you kind of have to
Yeah.
hunt where all that kind of stuff
Gotcha.
is.
Yeah, look, I remember looking through the rule book a little bit, and it seems a little something like that.
The rule book has like a nice thing at the end where it goes over every card in the game and like tells you in text what it
Mhm.
does.
But not
But it
like
would be nice if they had something that actually explained the icons, so
Gotcha.
you could just look at a card and know what it does.
Did the font bother you at all, or the smallness of
there's
the
a lot
text?
of cursive
Okay,
text.
It never really
I had
bothered
seen
me.
somebody doing a review of it, and they like really dug into that text, specifically from an ageist point of view of like people with bad eyesight or
Yeah,
older and stuff. It'd be really hard to see some of those cards, like the text and stuff.
a lot of it's just flavor text
Yeah, exactly.
on the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
I didn't bother reading the flavor text on most of the cards just because I was like, this is sometimes too hard to read.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember there really being any issues with it.
Any of the rule text I thought was fine though.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was Flow of History. What about you, Zach? What have you been playing board game wise?
On Wednesday, I played Herbaceous. So this is a set collection S game where you're just trying to pot herbs.
Yeah, it was somebody mentioned that on the BGG comments for our set collection review a couple
Yes.
weeks ago.
It was pretty interesting. So basically, you have these 4 cards in front of you that are different types of pots, and on your turn, there's a pile of herbs. Face down, it's a deck, and then you're gonna grab one card and you look at it, and there's like 9 different types of herbs, and then there's some special ones that have like point values on them. And you take that card and you either put it in the community garden or your private garden. And the private garden is is stuff only you have access to, and then the community garden everybody else has access to. But then and then you're gonna take one additional card, and whatever you put the first card, you put this one in the opposite one. So if you put the first one in private, you're gonna put this one in the community garden. And then basically everybody keeps doing that, and then at some point at the start of your turn, you can pot one of your or you can plant some of those. So each of those pots has a different way to score points. So one is you want unique herbs. And so when your turn starts, you can be like, I'm going to pot this unique one, and you take herbs from your private and the community garden. And then the more herbs you have, the more points you're going to get from that. And then there's also one where you want the same type of herb, and then you want pairs of unique herbs. So like 2 rosemary, 2 thyme, 2 sage sort of stuff. And then there's a final one that can just take 3 cards of any type of cards, but those the herbs that I was mentioning that have the points on them, mint and thyme and stuff, they have 1 to 3 points, and then you get any of those extra points from that specific pot. But
Okay.
that pot's the only one where you can actually put special plants. But whenever you pot in one of those, that one is now potted for the rest of the game. So you have to push your luck and try and get as many points as you can, but way too long, and someone else is going to do it before you, and you lose a lot of points.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
kind of.
Okay, it's a little hard to describe.
Yeah, it'd probably make more sense having everything in front of us.
Yes, and basically what it is it's like everybody keeps going around until everybody has potted everything that they can, and then you just count up victory points and stuff like that. But it was pretty interesting trying to figure out when was like if you could push something another round, or if you wanted to deny certain cards to other people like that, because when you potted, you can like I said, you can take from the community or the private. So anytime you could take something from the community, you would do it to help deny other people from getting herbs. So just trying to find the right time to pot everything to get the most points. It was pretty interesting. I liked it, and it was quick too. It was like 20 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad
Yeah.
at all.
Art on it's really good.
Yes.
That's from Beth Sobel.
Yep.
Yeah.
She does good art.
Yeah. And I immediately like I learned that one, and then I was 2 new people at game night, and then I was with Andrew, and I was like, no, it was 3 new people, and they're like, well, what should we play? And I was like, you know what? Let me just go get Herbaceous. I know how to play that now, and we can do that. So it was Andrew, Matt, and his girlfriend, and they all really liked it too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Jeff, you mentioned earlier you did not play Blood Bowl this week, so no Bloody Minute.
No, next game's lined up. Ant had actually played my next opponent, Frank, and his was Necro on Undead. And I think their game ended up being the Ant lost 0-1. And not much, I don't think, happened in the game. Frank's going to get his second Flesh Golem back because he only needed 10k more to be able to rebuy it. So it'll be a tight game, another game of Claw against my high armor. So a lot of move 8 goddamn werewolves. And one of them has plus Edge, so he gets 2 plus dot. And I think they're both Blodge. They both have Claw. One has plus Edge. So I want to mash those into the ground. And then I have a miss next game, Black Orc. So I'm down one of my strength guys. So we'll see.
Indeed, we will.
Yeah. Last season, I pulled out some Orky pass play bullshit to win 2-1 against him. So probably won't get that lucky this time.
You never know.
Never know.
Right on. Well, good luck, as always. We like hearing about you win, but we're also okay when you lose. So
We don't care.
well, it's just differing degrees. Like, we like seeing you happy and excited when you're winning,
Mhm.
but we also, get the revel in your misery when you lose.
Yes.
So it's win-win for us.
Hopefully I can pick up a ball with a 3+ within 7 turns this time.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
That's asking a lot, Jeff.
It is asking a lot. I think Ant
Especially if you don't switch your goddamn dice when you're supposed to.
Seriously.
I think Ant had calculated it to roughly over just a smidge over 1% chance for that to have happened to me.
That's, pretty
Well,
ridiculous.
Jeff, you are the 1%.
Yes, I am indeed.
Right on. That wraps up what we've been playing and everything. So I think we're ready to move on to some news and Kickstarters.
Plenty of news, plenty of Kickstarters, all of that fun stuff. First up in the wide world of news, Cool Stuff is giving you authentic board games officially now. Because were they having a lot of problems with fake board games from Cool Stuff?
Not from Cool Stuff, but like Amazon and like there were a rash of like people posting on Board Game Geek or on Reddit. They're like, look at the like this quality feels a bit bad, and then they had a comparison shots and they're like, oh, this is actually a fake board game. And a lot of it came from like Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of online retailers.
Yes.
And so Cool Stuff. I don't think this is Cool Stuff saying like, hey, we fixed this problem.
I think it's like, hey, you know we're
this
good.
isn't a problem with
Yeah.
us. We make sure to purchase from good places.
Well, it's like you remember the video game bust in the 80s with Atari and all that stuff. And so the Nintendo came out with the seal of approval.
Yes.
That they're like,
Don't you tell me about the seal of approval, sir.
so Jeff, the Nintendo was
And if our listeners don't know, I don't know if I've specifically talked. I have a huge retro video game collection, like original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I do like that they also point out in this little thing where Cool Stuff's like, hey, our games are legit. They talk about the issue being prevalent with less scrupulous sellers and Amazon selling counterfeit games. Then they do say, in Amazon's case, it's less that Amazon's being bad ethics. It's how they like
let other people sell.
Yeah, and with fulfillment, they just send everything to one warehouse and then they pull from that same stock.
Yeah.
So it's easy for counterfeit games to get mixed in.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
legit games. But
It sucks that that's becoming a problem.
it really does, especially because the quality, like in those posts that you see, like the quality is noticeably lower.
Yes.
And for as much as people pay attention to quality nowadays, it really sucks if you get it sucks on all counts. Like it sucks for the designer if somebody gets a knockoff version of their game because then they're like, oh, look at the shitty components in this game. and then it sucks for obviously the buyer to get a less good version of what they paid for.
Yeah.
So yeah, CSI though is saying that they're all good.
Next up in news, there has been some goings on lately about announcements, the Gamma trade show, and there is some cool new news about the expansion for Mystic Vale, Conclave, which excites me because I love Mystic Vale.
I also am a big fan of Mystic Vale.
Yep. You own Mystic Vale.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't own nearly as many of the expansions as you. You finally passed me in expansions.
How many did you own? Any expansions?
The first one.
Okay. All right.
So at 2, you passed him.
Correct. Well, considering you bought like 2 through all in one shot.
I bought 2, and then I got the last one, the most recent.
I thought you bought a whole bunch of them in like one go.
I did. It was like a mass.
He bought the base game and the first 2 expansions.
It was like a mass drop or something.
That's right.
It ended up being like $2 cheaper than like anywhere else.
Right.
It wasn't a big deal.
But yeah, they released more information about Conclave. One of the big things to note from it is that it's going to take the game from 4 to 6 players.
And when I first heard this and was reading about this news post, I was like, fuck that. There's no way I'm playing this game with 6 players.
Think of the downtime.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the downtime.
Especially late game.
Yeah, when people really
like,
chain huge hands.
It's like, all right, I'm going to go do something for 20 minutes till it's my turn again.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that like the way Mystic Vale actually plays, you're supposed to be building out your hand when it's not your turn. So that when it gets to you, your hand's built out and you're like, all right, here's what I'm doing with all these things I've already done. And so with 6 players, like I know late game, sometimes you'd run into things where like I'm still drawing cards when it's already my turn again.
Yeah.
If I get a particularly good run of cards.
Yeah.
And
with
other
6
people
players,
get bad
at least
ones,
there's 2 more players doing things. Yeah. If 3 people spoil all the way around, it's like, guys, I've only drawn 5 of my 20 cards.
I'm sorry. I'm so much winning right now. But then they're saying there's a new mechanic that they're adding into the game, which is a day and night system, which puts 2 markets on the table so that 2 people can be taking their turns at the same time, which I really like.
Yeah.
Especially because they'll be adding that mechanic into lower player counts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you could even play with it at like a 4-player count and help the game move even more.
Play it 2 players, and like it just further cementing how much of a solitaire game this is.
Yeah, I think the most interaction there is like, I'm going to remove that card from the board so you can't buy it.
Yep.
Yeah. It also will be this is a much bigger box that's supposed to hold everything. The article here, I don't know if this is something that's official or if it's like tongue-in-cheek, but it says at least until 2026 it'll hold everything. But I can't tell like if that's just a tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, it's got a lot of space, or if
it's probably a lot of space.
Or if Alderac is like, we've planned for everything out to 2026.
Yeah.
This
is our machine of expansions system, and we know exactly how many cards to make how much money for this many expansions over 8 years.
Yep. All eventualities have been planned.
Yeah. I'm going to get Conclave, and also not going to buy the broken token insert that just came out for the original box because I can just buy the Conclave box.
That was real bad timing on their part.
I think they were like,
they tried to get people like they got Jeff with the 7 Wonders duel.
7 Wonders duel. Like they had a crazy deal. It was only $10 for the insert, but then they were like, all right, and then the 7 Wonders duel expansion insert, and I was like, those motherfuckers. Next up in news, Game Developers Conference in 2018. Race for the Galaxy 2nd edition details are finally coming out, as well as new expansions, new board games. Just if you like Race for the Galaxy, there's at least 3 new things coming.
Right. So I think we talked a little while back about the news that there was going to be a 2nd edition. It
was a while ago, I think.
Yeah,
and it feels like forever.
Yeah. So Tom Lehman, the designer of Race to the Galaxy, he did a big long talk about designing the card game and everything like that. I think we talked a little bit about that. They had mentioned that there's going to be a 2nd edition for Race to the Galaxy. This has a little bit more information that wasn't in the first bit of news that we had read about this. Some changes they're making. They're making the colors on the cards more colorblind friendly.
Specifically, they're adding symbols for each of the colors.
Well, for the brown, green, and blue worlds, because apparently those ones, depending on your type of color blindness, were very hard to tell apart.
Yeah.
So they've added some different moon symbols to kind of differentiate those. They are
And,
revising the rules to be 100% gender neutral, which they were 98% gender neutral
I
beforehand.
guess, yeah.
Like I always, I don't remember them being particularly gendered rules. It's been a long time since I actually read
Yeah, I was
through
like,
the
when was the
rules
last time I
for
read
Race
through the
to
rules?
Galaxy. But that's awesome. They did some new samples for rounds of play that are supposed to hopefully kind of clear up how to actually play when you're learning. 6 new promo start worlds that come from the app edition, and they've adjusted 5 specific cards, which they list here on this post. And then there's somebody else on BGG went through and detailed the changes, like what the old cards were, what the new cards will be. Those 5 cards will be available as a promo pack. So if you have an old edition and you just want the new updated cards, you can just buy the 5-card promo pack through BGG. You don't have to go out and get the second edition.
Hopefully they won't have like a weird ink print difference.
Right? For the back of the cards or something.
Which always seems to be a problem with new editions.
Yeah.
As far as the other things, Race for the Galaxy Xeno Counter-Strike, which we talked about, I think, back in February when we talked about the second edition.
Correct.
That is now officially going to be released in 2019. Whereas back in February, Tom Lehman didn't seem sure about when it would come out. So now it will definitely be out next year. And then in Q2 2018, so sometime this summer, Roll for the Galaxy Rivalry, the second expansion for Roll for the Galaxy, will be out. And then a Q3 2018 release date for New Frontiers, which is a new Race for the Galaxy board game. And was apparently, this is something I'd completely missed. It was first mentioned in 2016. So it's at least been hinted at for a while. But it will now actually be coming out in later this year, around the fall. And has some slightly different iconography and things that are supposed to make it more appealing to casual audiences.
Because, Race is not the easiest game to learn.
No, not at all.
No, it is not.
So,
but 4 years for an expansion for Race to the Galaxy? Cripes. It's 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder how far apart those original 3 expansions came out.
I think pretty far.
Yeah?
I think so. I don't know.
We may never know.
I mean,
Indeed.
There's a very easy way to find that out.
Correct.
I don't believe you.
I bet we could follow some of the links in this exact article.
Next up on news, Games Workshop is releasing a new Lord of the Rings product, but not that miniatures game, an actual board game, Quest to Mount Doom, a competitive board game.
Which is officially where this one loses me entirely and makes no sense. So it's a competitive game where everybody's taking on different roles of the Fellowship, and you're trying to hunt for the ring, and then whoever finds it is trying to keep it a secret while taking it to Mount Doom to destroy it, because you're worried about the other members of the Fellowship of the Ring trying to steal the ring. And it makes no sense what they're going for with this. And like looking at the pictures of like the board and stuff, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the target audience is here. Like I feel like almost anybody who actually really likes Lord of the Rings and would buy a Lord of the Rings board game isn't going to want to buy a Lord of the Rings board game where the Fellowship is at odds with one another. And the board looks just fucking bland as all shit. Like
sort of just kind of a very light map on, I don't know, Arkham Horror areas.
But without any background art. Like it's just blank space with dotted lines connecting the locations.
Oh no, there's a little map on behind it.
Is there?
You just can't see.
Super fucking faint.
Yes, it is. It's a map of roughly Middle Earth. So those locations probably are roughly where, on that map behind it. But yeah, it's sort of like have all of the Fellowship fight each other over the ring and who can destroy it and steal it from each other and try to destroy it. Also, the character cards are definitely minis from the Lord of the Rings miniatures game. The actual minis that they use in the game also look very similar to the Fellowship from the Lord of the Rings miniatures game when all the movies and stuff were coming out. That's back when I worked for Games Workshop. I own, I think, all of the good side miniatures for the Lord of the Rings miniature game between Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. I bought a lot.
How much is that?
With my discount, it was probably roughly $250.
That's not nearly as bad as I thought it would
I mean,
be.
that's 60% off.
Oh God.
Yeah. A friend of me and a friend / coworker were planning on doing an entire Lord of the Rings campaign, which you can do in the rules, and go all the way from Fellowship to the end of Return of the King.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
And it was like there was a scenario. There was like 12 scenarios per book.
Pass.
Oh my god.
It would be fucking awesome.
Pass.
Especially because the battle bunker had an actual like scale Helm's Deep that we could do the Helm's Deep.
Now, that
battle
would
at.
be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Okay. that won me over. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
The entire campaign, though, 12 episodes per book. No.
But, I mean, they're not long scenarios. They're like 30, 45 minutes.
Still, that's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot.
But anyhow, yeah, that Lord of the Rings Quest to Mount Doom, I don't really get what they're going for there.
Yeah.
Seems super odd.
It's like, hey, we still totally have like a board game license for Lord of the Rings, don't we?
Yeah. So, anyway, that's the end of the news.
That's it for news.
On to Kickstarter.
On to the wide world of Kickstarters. Starting off on the wide world of Kickstarters, we have Godtear.
Or Tear.
It's tier.
Is it Tear?
It is tier.
Okay.
Yes, because it's like the tears of the gods fell to earth, destroyed civilization. They've picked up the tears, and now they are like crazy god powerful people.
Getting
Okay.
so ahead of yourself here, Jeff. Where's the stats? We need the hot stats.
I was just correcting Zach. Godtear, well funded, 336,000 of its $42,000 goal, 2,700 backers, a little bit less than 2 weeks to pledge this one, which is a straight up $111 with like another multiple hundreds of dollars of add-ons.
Yeah, so this is definitely your $100 miniature game of the week because those never stop coming.
And well more than $100 miniature game of the week.
Yes.
This is also by the same people that did Dark Souls, the miniatures game, board game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which I know a lot of people like the idea behind that. I've heard that the game itself doesn't quite work as the board game as well as it should.
I think I've seen someone bring it once to game night or one of the anniversary events,
Yeah.
but I have not had a chance to try it. I know the booth at Gen Con was packed the
Yes, it
whole
was.
time.
Oh, yeah. Anyhow, so Godtear, it's a 2-player game where you're each taking control of a warband consisting of some champions and their followers, and you're battling the other player's warband for control of these god tiers that are going to be scattered across the land, or in this case, the game board. And essentially, like Jeff was kind of getting at there, the story of this is that the gods, people stopped worshiping them or paying attention to them, and they got real butthurt about it. And
They shattered.
Yeah. So the gods, their bodies shattered, and they wept at their betrayal, and the tears fell down as these crystal shards that containing the raw essence of the gods proceeded to just wipe out civilization. And so now, way in the future, people
Hundreds of years later.
yeah, the different races are reemerging from their near extinction, and they're finding that some of them are powerful enough individuals to actually hold and use these god tiers, and it gives them just immense power and lets them become these champions. And so some of these champions have all kind of teamed up and gotten a bunch of followers, and now they're all going to war. And yeah.
It seems like the general gameplay is over different control markers and trying to keep them on your half of the battlefield while getting and then it's a timer of like, I don't know, it's not really area control. Griff ball? No. It's hard to say. Get the thing and then kind of bring it back home and make sure they can't steal it. And then you'll get points per round. You have it on your side, and then like first person to 5 victory points wins.
So sort of like a capture the flag esque
Kind of, but you don't like take it home and then it goes back to the middle.
Right, yeah.
You just kind of want to keep it on your side.
Keep the flag.
Keep
Yeah.
the flag. Yeah, that's definitely a game mode, but I just don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
Assault.
Yes. So in this one of the kind of other twists of this is you don't play as like a specific faction, because the way that in the lore different champions ally with each other, you build your little war band by choosing from a variety of factions and kind of building what you want. So the 4 main type like classes of the champions, they're Slayers, which are basically DPS. They're real high damage to one specific target. There's the Guardians, which are totally the healers. They're focused with their warband's longevity. Maelstroms, which they don't do a lot of damage to one person. They're more AoE type thing. Or they hit a lot of. I can't tell if they're like AoE where they do one attack that hits a lot of people, or if they just do a lot of fast, low damage attacks so that they can thin out weaker people quickly. And then there's the Shapers who are definitely more of a, I don't know, like control type thing. Like they could let other people move. You can either force the enemy to move or move your own people. And you can interact more directly with the board and the scenario objectives. Yeah, and you choose from like those classes, and I think there's probably some more in some of the add-on stuff.
Which there are a lot of.
There's a shit ton of add-ons.
And like $40 per like new clan add-on.
Yeah. And so you build up your warband, and then you go to war and then fight each other.
Yeah, it does come with 4 war bands to start with. And then all of the add-ons are kind of more of each of those different mainline factions, I guess. Some of them look pretty cool. I mean, all the minis look cool. It came from the people that did Dark Souls, where, the best part was the minis. So,
yeah, I think that the minis all look really good. I'm still really just not impressed with the actual game board. Like, the art on it looks really bland and generic, and it just doesn't seem to have much there.
Yeah, but a lot of these games are more about the interaction between the units than anything. Like, it was the same with Cthulhu Wars, where it's just sort of like, here's these huge minis and a board that, does enough to get the game to play. And it was the same with Dark Souls. It was just sort of a board and dudes on it.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of miniatures game, which I am not super impressed with, but it's clearly a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although these minis, like I said, they look really cool. This is one, though, that since the gameplay doesn't seem to interest me very much, I'm not sure. Like, I couldn't see ever wanting these to use maybe in something else, like just to have the minis. Like, they're cool minis, but I don't know what I'd ever use them for outside of just this game. Like, maybe the Lore Sane, which are like elf archers. Yeah, some of these, I guess, like the dwarf guys.
Yeah, I think they look pretty cool. But a lot of other people also do, because this is well funded.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So, but yeah, that's Godtear. So check it out if that sounds interesting to you.
Or look at it, because they look cool too.
Yes.
Speaking of looking cool, next up is Street Fighter, the miniatures game. Well funded, $782,000 of its $400,000 goal. 4,000 backers and about 3 weeks left to go on this one. And holy shit, this game looks awesome.
Yeah. So this is another $100 mini.
Yes, you can back this one for $80, $140, or $280.
Is the 280 all the expansion?
Yeah, the 280 is the World Warrior Pledge, which is like
that's going to get you everything basically.
Yes, because there is a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
These are all full. So it's Street Fighter 2, which is the best Street Fighter. Yeah. I'm sure that's not right, but that's the only one I played. But yeah, I really like Street Fighter 2. I'm glad. Yeah.
Oh, first off, you should state that this is a Kickstarter exclusive game.
Yes. Period.
Yes.
So this, you can only get this during these next couple weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming that they don't do a late pledge, which I'm sure they will. But
no
outside
retail.
of no retail.
Outside of a retailer just doing a bunch of pledges to release in their store.
Yes.
Yeah. So that $280 pledge, just everything it includes. So it has the Street Fighter base game. It has the boss expansion, which is M. Bison and Akuma. The Street Fighter Alpha character expansion, Street Fighter 3 character expansion, 4 character expansion, 5 character expansion, and then all stretch goals with additional fighters and decks. So it's just a ton of shit. Like, they say it's quadruple the size of the base game.
Yeah.
Which I could believe.
Yeah, especially if they have as many fighters from those games in just each of the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, these are all full painted
65 millimeter,
which are if you've
they
seen,
call them collectible minis.
Oh, if you've seen an amiibo,
Yeah.
these are like slightly bigger than that,
Yeah.
and look even better.
Yeah, they look amazing.
Yeah, damn, they really do.
It seems like a fairly short game.
Yeah.
They say it's about where was it? 30 minutes as a 2-player game. It's 2 to 6 players, and then multiplayer is 15 minutes per player.
So 90 minutes because it can go up to 6 players.
Yes. For like the regular for the $140 pledge, you're getting 8 fighters, the 2 bosses,
Mm-hmm.
and then 6 others. And then a lot of the stretch goals are some of those that are like why aren't these in the fucking game? Like Guile and Blanca and E Honda and Dalsim and Balrog and pretty much everyone that you can imagine are inevitably going to be stretch goals for this game.
Yeah.
They look real good too.
Yeah. So it seems like the gameplay itself is like, so it has every character has their own battle deck
And player board.
It looks like they tried to go for a simpler way of playing the game. Especially because like a miniature game, it'd be hard to get a fighting game to work well as a miniatures game.
Yeah.
And it is on like a grid-based board.
Yeah. And so this one, it's basically you draw 2 cards from your battle deck, and then you're going to move your character around, and then you're going to fight. And which is you can either after you fight, like then your opponent can either block or counterattack. So when you attack somebody, they can choose to either try and block it, in which case they roll, because this does have dice that looks like battle dice. And that's to help it's blocking to stop damage.
Yeah, it's like the card your opponent plays will have an attack value.
Yeah, and you're trying to
roll
against that.
Yeah, and then you can discard other cards from your hand that might have block die on them, like to boost your block roll.
Right. So it's mitigatable in some way, which is always nice. Or you can counterattack. So instead of trying to block, you just start attacking them instead.
Yeah.
And then it's just you go until like one of your guys. Basically, you finish out the rounds. Somebody gets knocked out, and then you go again because it's Street Fighter. Best 2 out of 3 rounds. It's good to see there isn't a 99-second time limit on this.
Yeah, even all the little add-on expansions for the future games have a lot of really cool characters. I definitely the Street Fighter Alpha one's going to be by far the most popular because it has everyone's favorite character, Dan.
Dan, yeah.
And Sakura in it.
Yeah.
A lot of the other sequel people
hit and miss.
aren't familiar to me, but like Nash in the newest one.
Right.
But
is that Guile's son or something like that?
No, it's Guile's like partner that ended up dying in one of the scenarios. Like as Street Fighter, I think Street Fighter 2 is the one that happened most in the future, and then like 3, 4, 5, and everything else has all been like jammed between each other.
Between like 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Because they just can't cope in the future because they already fucked that up with whatever storyline bullshit that they do. There's a storyline in Street Fighter. It's fucked.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Like M. Bison died at the end of 2, so now they just have to keep going back to get M. Bison.
Right.
They have 3D terrain.
Yes, they do.
Which is on the Guile stage.
And destroyable?
Yes, destructible terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the other side of the board is the Guile stage, and it has the best music. So clearly you need to play that music anytime you play the game. Well, that's kind of the awesome part. You can just play the fucking theme songs to all the fights you're having.
Yeah. My question, though, is where's the car that you can just destroy it?
I'm sure that's a stretch goal.
It better be.
Yeah, I like that the that first expansion, the boss expansion, adds a like co-op mode where like the boss
a
has
1v all,
it has its own like automatic deck that will move it around the board and do different things, and you basically have to coordinate together to beat up on the boss. But they do also include just regular fighter decks for the bosses, so that you can still use your 1v1 smash face mode.
We should also mention that if anyone is aware of who Angry Joe is. He's a angry YouTube person that does a lot of video game reviews. He is the creator, designer, and project director of this Kickstarter.
Okay.
He's a pretty big name in the wide world of YouTube. Some people don't like him.
Never heard of him.
He does like 30-minute reviews. He yells a lot. He really loves aliens.
I mean, who doesn't?
Exactly.
Besides terrible people.
Yes. Controversial figure, but definitely a interesting thing that he's trying to do.
Well, that's Street Fighter the miniatures game.
Yeah. Those I do have to say the components in this game look phenomenal.
They do.
So they've definitely put forth a lot of really cool effort in there. Next up on Kickstarter is Tramways Engineers Workbook. Another well-funded $37,000 of its $19,000 goal. Over 750 backers and a little bit less than 3 weeks to go. You can pledge this one for $25, or if you don't own any Tramways, you can back everything, the expansion, the game, whatever. For I think that runs about $89 for everything.
Correct. The Engineer Workbook here is a standalone game that, like Tramways, is kind of still technically in the small city universe that Albin Viard has. and it's basically Tramways puzzles. So it's a workbook where you go through and you draw rail lines and use tickets, just writing directly on the book to achieve the goal, or if you fuck up, erase it all and try again.
Because it's laminated.
Yeah, so you can use like dry erase and stuff. And so the main workbook comes with 38 solo puzzles. There are also 33 duo puzzles where you can play with somebody else, where it's kind of like a pass and play, writing there with, again, dry erase, trying to solve these little puzzles. Each of them take about 20 minutes, so they're pretty quick. And it's the entire book's done in the very Art Deco art style from Tramways, which I super like. But yeah,
it looks interesting. Like it's like a puzzle book.
Yeah. So the thing I really like about this is that I for a long time I travel fairly regularly, especially on airplanes, and I almost always throw into like my carry-on bag or like my duffel bag or whatever that I've like kind of got with me a couple small box games that have one player variants, with the idea that while I'm sitting at the airport for an hour, I can bust one out and play it. But I never really do, because there's rarely enough space for even the smallest of one player games. And so this being just a little workbook that I could very easily fit like in my laptop bag or something, or a little briefcase, it seems about perfect for that kind of gameplay thing. And since I really like Tramways, and I like the kind of puzzle aspect there, I think this sounds pretty awesome. So I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
It's definitely a very unique idea.
Yeah, there's really nothing else quite like this in board games. I mean, there's other like workbook, puzzle book things, but
have you played Sudoku?
Not. I don't think there's anything like it where it's like it has specific situations that you have to do.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say there's like a lot of the roll and write-esque games that have that same sort of thing where it's one player and where you're sort of using a marker and filling these things like that. But I think it's starts the same-ish every time. I don't know. So
yeah. Each of the puzzles, you only have 6 rounds, so you have to basically it's totally an optimization game.
It plays like the Tramways, right? Basically,
very similar. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like the other thing I really like is it's progressive. So each episode, as he calls them, you have a certain set of actions and some objectives, but they each also have a special rule that you have to take into account, and it seems like they stack. So by the end of the game, you're gonna have a bunch of different little rules that you have to keep in mind.
Right.
And then the difference of objectives from round to round means that what you're trying to do it's not always just like build the most efficient rail line to get somebody from A to B. You're definitely trying to do different things, which I really appreciate.
And then also, if you literally can't buy Tramways now, so because it's out of print.
Yeah, Tramways has been out of print for a while, and so if nothing else, it's a great chance to get Tramways.
So basically, the Tramways reprint.
Yeah,
Kickstarter.
Yeah,
but it has a cool new thing on there too, so it's not just like here's the Kickstarter again.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Engineer's Workbook from Albin VR. Check it out if you dig Tramways stuff and want more Tramways type stuff.
Next up on Kickstarter is Fantasy Football, a Lostorian, Demons and Chaos, also known as all of the Chaos Blood Bowl teams from Grebo Games. Well-funded, $167,000 of its $5,000 goal, 979 backers, of which Ant is one. About 2 weeks left to pledge this one, which you can for roughly $92 a team, or $307 for everything, I believe.
Are these made of pewter?
They will be coming in white metal.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So this is Blood Bowl related.
$75. You said 75? No, 92 per team?
92. So it depends on the team, but I think all of them are generally about $92 for whatever team you want.
Will it actually come with enough to play the team you want to play?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there's 4 different teams, and Each one is like you'll get 10 of the general linemen and then the actual positionals and stuff like that.
It's not
up
like
to their max. The GW boxes that only come with 2 blitzers and 2 black orcs, and you need 4 of each. Yeah. This is an actual, well-designed team boxes. Anyway, it's got all 4 chaos teams, including the new Khorne team. So it'll be your general chaos team with chaos warriors, a Nurgle team with its 4 chaos warriors, and the beast chaos pact, which is like dark elf, goblin, skaven, and then 3 big guys, the minotaur, the ogre, and the troll. And then Khorne, which is all Khorne blood rage demons, which is a new team in the last year or 2. It came in through Blood Bowl 2, I believe, as Kislev, which is like a circus team. It's stupid. I like the Khorne demon one.
Okay.
Second thing, all of these miniatures are fucking amazing. Ant showed me this a couple weeks ago. They've been kind of teasing this on Facebook for a while, and they all look absolutely amazing. Downside is some of the models, even for the bigger bases that the new Blood Bowl is on, are even bigger and are just absolutely huge.
Like the Chaos Troll?
Oh my God. But they all, I can't say it enough. They all look amazing. Even unpainted, the detail in each model is crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Do yourself a favor and just go look at how awesome these are. Everything has really good poses and detail. A lot of the stretch goals were more poses for the different characters. But like your team only has like 4 Chaos Warriors or 4 Nurgle Warriors, and each one of those will look unique. They even have mutation packs, so when you'll have to magnetize your models, but when they get tentacles or extra heads or claw, they'll have little parts that you can put on your guys for that. They have multiple like Beast of Nurgle models that you can get that have their own mutation packs that you can put on them. Some people complained about, I think the standard Chaos Warriors were a little too bland, so they made one dude that was like running. But even all of them are just fantastic. You can buy a lot of stuff a la carte, and they'll have a lot of replacement star players and stuff. Like if you need a chainsaw model or something like that, you can always order that just by itself.
The model for Glum, the Gobbler, looks amazing.
Let me get down to that.
It's a guy with a giant mouth in his stomach that has a tongue that's reaching out and grabbing a ball.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, a lot of those are replaced. That's the one of the replacements for I think there's a Nurgle star player.
Oh, okay.
It's
The
like
cheerleaders are definitely topless.
well, there's
super nude.
so there isn't a chaos team for Slanesh, but Slanesh is like the lust chaos god, and they're like they are naked crab people. And
Which I did just realize they have crab arms.
Yes,
so,
yeah, that's
and
how
demon horns.
That's how they are in like the tabletop like GW stuff too. Like there's boobs, or there was boobs. They've moved away from the boobs, but that's definitely how they used to be.
Probably because it's a little alienating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this Demogorgon? Demogorgon. Is that supposed to be anything, or is it just?
I think it's just a replace. Like they have, like I was saying, they have multiple models for like the Beast of Nurgle. You can just get that as they almost always do on their Kickstarters. Just a like, here's an extra cool fucking model that you can get
to use for whatever. Want.
Yeah.
That thing's really big.
Yeah, and then you can get almost all of their old Kickstarters on top of this, as you wish.
How much did he back of this?
I'm pretty sure he backed the full fucking thing. Yeah, it's gonna be
what
awesome.
the fuck is this Bunny Legion?
I think it's just a little goofy. They always
That's
do
funny.
little goofy stuff. Yeah,
Chaos bunnies.
They actually look really good too, though.
That Tawny
yes,
looks really good.
Yeah, it's a Minotaur bunny. But yeah, a lot of the stuff you can buy by itself, like the crazy tongue coming out of his chest grabbing a ball. It's like, an extra $9 or something. So you don't have to do the full thing. Like I'm probably going to get the chainsaw character just to have Yeah, just to have a chainsaw dude, because that seems to be what I've been using on inducements.
Gotcha.
Not that I'm going to get any inducements this season. Everyone's going to get them against me.
Are you sure you wouldn't have that chainsaw guy?
No, but
The never-ending agony.
yeah, they all look so good. Downside is they're all chaos. So if you don't really play chaos, there's not too much here for you. But everything here is if you get just holy shit.
Right. If you like chaos
Yeah. Like,
and Blood Bowl,
they look.
and not just like chaos as a concept.
No. But even in the individual teams, I think the only team that's a little more is the Chaos Pack team. It's like $117 instead of 92 because it comes with 3 big guys.
Okay.
Comes with the Ogre, the Troll, and the Minotaur. And
Oh yeah, I see that one.
yeah, but the Bee's Knees, fantastic. Yeah, Freebo Games, Fantasy Football, Olastorian, Demons and Chaos.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like their 6th project,
It's
and they've
definitely the best like Blood Bowl minis we've seen so far. I think.
Oh yeah,
That we've talked about.
yeah, and you can do a lot of their older stuff, I think, as add-ons through this Kickstarter as well. But holy shit, when I saw that, I was like fucking mind blown how good they looked. And I guess surprise Kickstarter, because we haven't really talked about it. We talked about it last week because it was about to launch, but then it did launch. Fireball Island.
Oh, yeah.
Any guesses on how much Fireball Island money has made?
I saw that on Tuesday last week, it was already at almost the 500,000. I said it'd make day 1. I'm going to go with it has reached, I don't think it's quite crossed 1 million. I'm going to say 720.
I'm gonna say 900.
$1.3 million.
Jesus Christ, I was at 50%.
Yeah.
10,556 backers, and 3 weeks left to go on this one, which we talked about last week.
Yeah.
But
They had some gameplay videos have come up from it, and it looks
yeah, they brought it to PAX East, I think is what's going on right now.
yes
Boston
ish area. Yeah.
But they brought it there, and I think people have been able to play that over this last weekend. Yeah, Fireball Island.
Yeah.
A lot of money
Mm-hmm.
thrown at that one.
And then Zombicide Invaders coming out tomorrow.
So we'll talk about it next week.
Exactly.
Indeed.
And I'll bitch about space
Yes,
zombies.
exactly. But that's why we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah, that wraps up Kickstarters. So we can move right along to some listener feedback. Of which there's plenty. Jeff, you have emails to read.
Oh boy, do I. Emails at milehighgameguys.com if you would like to send us an email. First up in emails is from Isaac, titled Bad Luck. Hello, MHGG. I've been wanting to send an email talking about this story since your Lisboa giveaway, but my life has been so hectic that I never got around to it, just like us reading off the rest of those emails. So I have a bit of a strange start in board gaming. It's a bit of a long story, but here's a sample of 5 of my first 10 games I bought. Dominion, Elysium, The Great Zimbabwe, Kingdom Death Monster, and Food Chain Magnate.
That is a wide berth of games.
Yeah.
Wide berth is a good description. Kingdom Death is still not shipped yet in this story, but the others were in my possession. I had a regular board game night I would attend, and I would always get a ride there because I don't have my license or a car. The games I always wanted to play were limited by what I could stuff into my lap. Fast forward a bit, and I have a car plus my license, so I get the brilliant idea of stuffing nearly my entire collection in my trunk. Little did I know, my tire wells weren't fully sealed off, so black gunk started to get all over my games, ruining about 7 game boxes, including my splotters. To this day, I have terrible luck with splotter boxes. I received my copy of Indonesia with a gouge in the box, and my antiquity copy has the paper splitting on an edge. I can't own a mint splotter.
Yeah, that sucks.
I mean,
at least hopefully the games themselves didn't get ruined, just the boxes.
Yeah.
Unlike our friend Paul's copy of Indonesia, where there was definitely
a huge puncture through the
board.
To be fair, that he knowingly bought it that way because he got it for like 70-80% off.
Yeah,
like $35.
Yep.
Yeah, he got it for ridiculously cheap when it was out of print because it had a huge volcano right near the island of Bali.
Yeah,
which there's actually a huge volcano on the island of Bali.
Yes.
So it works.
Somebody was just trying to make it a little bit more thematic.
He continues. I know it's not the biggest disaster, but it hurt the inner collector in me. I love the show, by the way. You guys never fail to improve my drive to work because you have a license and a car. Also, I think now, because he didn't have a licensed car, now he has a licensed car because he drives himself to work and now he can listen
He's got
to
a
it.
license to drive.
This is what happens when you pay attention to the email agent.
Yeah.
Well, just, I don't know, the way you threw that in there, it threw me off.
Yes. We got it.
Yeah,
We're
we
fine.
got it.
Also, I think now is the perfect time for that Tramways review, considering it's on Kickstarter.
Wow.
It
It won't, it will be in this next 10 episode block because it's episode 90. So we're starting the new 90s block for the episodes. And Tramways will be in the next 10 episodes.
Yeah.
It will not be before the Kickstarter ends, though,
Yeah.
for the Engineer's Notebook, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
And we're calling this block the Portland block, the 90s.
Oh, dear.
Thank you, Isaac, for the email.
Yes, thank you.
Next up on emails is the hater himself, Andrew, titled, We've Got to Talk About Detroit.
So this isn't about board game or anything.
No. Welcome to the hockey block of the
I
episode.
mentioned hockey last week, and so now we have a hockey block of emails.
Indeed. Y'all can't listen to Don't Stop Believin' because of the Will Ferrell and Jimmy Fallon bit. I've always been annoyed by that song because the boy is born and raised in South Detroit. Here's a fun fact. There's no such place. No one has ever said they were from South Detroit. Detroit is divided between East and West. I'm from the West Side, for instance. There's a Southwest Detroit, but that's generally a pretty small neighborhood that's mostly just Detroit's Mexican town, which I guess is a thing.
Yeah,
Like Chinatown.
Yeah. I just haven't been to a Mexican town that I'm aware of.
You haven't been
Yeah.
down South Fed?
South Federal. but above Alameda, because then it becomes the Far East Center is like right after Alameda, so that's where all the great pho is.
Which is how you can tell that America definitely has issues with race because we are still super segregated in our cities because it's super bullshit.
It's got some great restaurants if you ever visit. See, I don't know. But if you go south of downtown Detroit, there's no more Detroit there. There's no more America there because you immediately hit Canada. Don't Stop Believin' may be the first in a long, long line of people using Detroit to sound cool or badass or whatever without knowing a damn thing about the city, so Journey can fuck right off.
So he meant to say, like, he's from Canada, but it just didn't rhyme. He needed Detroit.
Yes.
That's always been like one of my favorite little things with that song. It's just born and raised in Canada.
Yeah.
Because I've known that for a long time. Like,
It doesn't fit the lyric scheme.
my biological dad lives in one of the suburbs of Detroit. Like, I've known for a long time that South Detroit is Canada. Like, yeah, fucking Journey, man. Fucking Journey.
He continues. Also, Adrian, I'm not usually one to turn away people from being a fan of my team. I don't like gatekeeping in general. But I will say that I'm deeply uncomfortable with the fact that someone whose primary team is the Avs would also root for the Red Wings. I've lived here in Denver for almost 5 years now, and I'm happy rooting for the Rockies, the Nuggets, and the Broncos, but holy hell, fuck the Avs. I'd root for the Blackhawks to beat the Red Wings before I rooted for the Avs to beat anybody.
Which,
Wow.
God damn, that is harsh.
That's rough, because everyone hates the Blackhawks, unless you're a Blackhawks fan. Were you even alive from 96 to 2003? Here's a small list of things that happened in that period. Patrick Roy fought 3 different Wings goalies. They had one game, 148 penalty minutes, another a year later with 218.
How many minutes is in a game?
60.
That's a lot of minutes.
Yes.
And the 2 teams won 5 of those 8 Stanley Cups. One of my favorite sports memories is Roy holding his glove up to show the puck he'd caught in Game 6 of the 2002 conference finals, only he didn't have it. The Wings scored. He was so put off by that he collapsed in the next game. The Wings won 7-0 and went on to win the cup. 7-0 is insane.
That is ridiculous. The 4-1 in Saturday's Avs Blues game was ridiculous.
Well, that was ridiculous for a different reason.
Yes.
He continues. Memories. So you can root for the Wings if you want. I'm just going to think you're weird because, again, fuck the Avs. Cheers, the hater.
So this is where clarification is needed. I really legitimately super follow two sports, and that's MMA, specifically the UFC, and NFL, specifically the Broncos. Outside of those two specific things, the UFC and the Denver Broncos, I have vague interests in things that are usually, like in the case of the Avs, because I'm from Colorado. I like the Broncos, so I'll also tangentially, because the Denver Broncos, root for the Avs and the Nuggets. I don't, especially basketball, I'll root for the Nuggets in a very vague sense. I don't give a shit about basketball at all. I really actually don't like basketball very much. But, if I have to oh, hey, cool, the Nuggets beat somebody. Yay. Or, oh, darn, the Nuggets lost. Hockey I care about a little bit more because hockey is actually fun to watch, especially live. So that's why I like the Avs. They're my hometown team, big air quotes, because that's an important part of sports is my hometown is better than your hometown, which is why I like the Blues, because the Blues have been where my family has lived for the last 13 years. So my little brother's a huge Blues fan, and he actually really likes hockey. So his passion for the Blues is kind of worn off. So in the interest of my little brother, I'll cheer for the Blues when they're not playing the Avs. And then the Red Wings are similar along that line. I have a lot of friends from Michigan who are Red Wings fans. And most importantly, my girlfriend is from Michigan and is a big Red Wings fan, who only likes the Avs because they're the local team that she gets to watch now. I think she would be much more in line with Kaiser here on the fuck the Avs train if it weren't for the fact that, she doesn't hardly get to watch the Red Wings play. So I'm not necessarily a Red Wings fan, but I don't hate the Red Wings, mostly because I certainly did not follow hockey during that stretch. The only thing I know from that stretch of hockey is that I think it was 2003, the Avs won, and that was the last major riot Denver had. So, because hockey gets contentious.
It does.
So,
also the Avs played the Blues Saturday.
Yeah.
For the last spot in the playoffs.
Yes.
And
whoever won was going to the playoffs. Whoever lost was out.
Incorrect.
Well, yeah, no, the Avs had to win in regulation. If it went to overtime, the Blues were going to the playoffs.
The Blues only had to tie regulation, or the Avs were out. There was some crazy tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And it was, the announcers were like, this is the first I've ever heard of it, that you had to win in regulation. Because even if you won in overtime, you were still out of the playoffs.
Yeah, because of the way they handle, each win is weighted differently.
Yes. That was tight.
Yeah. The Blues were down 2-1, 3-1, or no, 2-2, 3-2 maybe. Because I think it ended up being 4-2.
It was
so I think they were
3-0 and then it was 3-1.
Yeah, but the Blues pulled their goalie at 4 minutes left,
which is nuts.
Which is ridiculous.
And then the Avs immediately scored on the empty goal and sealed it.
Yeah. It was a good game. I really enjoyed watching that one.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of tight goals.
Yeah.
But, an offsides thing. But anyway.
Yep. But as always, love the haters' emails. Thanks for the hockey history lesson. On to part 2 of the hockey corner.
Indeed.
And this is where I'd asked in last week's episode, I asked Matt directly why he was a Blues fan, considering he lives in fucking Australia. So this is why Matt is a Blues fan.
Which is titled Why I'm a Blues Fan. Hi Jeff, keep up the snowboarding. I am enjoying the pics on Twitter and am envious I am not able to get out in sunny Australia. Sorry for the lengthy email to all the folks at home. Adrian asked for this, so send all hate to emails at milehighgameguys.com or tweet at milehighgameguys and tell him so, please.
MH Game Guys.
MH Game Guys, yes.
Gotta get the right one.
Yes. Hey, Adrian, let me explain 2 things because I feel bad. Firstly, thanks for saying I have a good taste in games. While I'm not taking back my #Team Zach, I do find that you all give me something special. Whether it's the tingling in my chest hairs or a fuzzy feeling in my left knee, it's special. Thank you.
You might want to get that looked at, though.
Yeah, I don't. Fuzzy knee.
Yeah.
If you go back a heap of episodes, Zach mentioned Hanamikoji a lot, and a day later, I went to a random local game store, and there was this game on sale, so I went for it. I have never seen this game in a store again. It dawned on me that maybe I should trust Zach. And this is a choice. This is, of course, satirical. Given how you all describe him at playing games, he seems most likely to betray me and laugh maniacally.
I mean,
Never.
That is Zach, 100%.
If I ever get to play Spirit Island or Food Chain Magnate, and it blows my mind as much as you say it will, then I will give you a massive shout out. Now, why I'm a Blues fan? The reason is shitty. I work with Canadians, and they all talk hockey A. A friend of mine was keen on the Ducks. Puke, same guy, is a Broncos fan. And we went to a few exhibition matches between Canada and the US. So I asked one guy at work, what's a good team that I can back? He gave me the original 6 to follow up on and said that's the safest. I found a player with the same last name and wore my favorite number, and the rest is shitty history. Their social media presence is great, and it has now stuck with me. Capitals are my second favorite because they have an Aussie, and Wild are my third. Fuck the Hawks, Flames, and Penguins. That sounds about right. I'm currently looking at joining a local beer league. I would say totally go for it. I have watched those, and they are entertaining because usually one team crushes the other. But you get beer. I never mentioned it before because no one on the podcast has mentioned liking hockey. Zach and Jeff don't like talking sports, so I figured I'd save everyone's time. Since it's the end of the show here, and here are some recent Aussie sports highlights. Mick Fanning, former #1 pro surfer, retired in an amazing final at Bells Beach. If you aren't familiar with surfing, he was the guy. Who was attacked by a shark at J Bay. I was not familiar with that.
There you go.
I was not either, but I bet that's easy to find online.
Indeed. The Australian women's cricket team in the Commonwealth Bank Tour of India took down England by 8 wickets off 51 balls. That's like winning baseball with only hitting home runs. Downside, if you only hit home runs, the game will never end, ever, because your score just keeps going up and they don't get outs. It's an infinite game.
Yep.
And the AFL, I assume the Australian Football League,
that is correct.
Started last week. There are no teams called the Emus, but there is a beer league. There is a beer called Emu Export. It tastes like armpits, which Ant would say most IPAs smell, which is good.
Yeah,
I think. So there you go. I just sportsgasmed all over your podcast for at least another month. If anyone wants to talk sports, you can email me. Emails at milehighgameguys.com, and we can have a very public but slow love affair via Jeff's sexy voice, only to be denied by Zach's disapproval and inevitable BGG betrayal, or find me on Slack. All the best, Matt.
Well, at least now I know why Matt's a Blues fan.
There you go.
Along with a bunch of other stuff I don't care about, like cricket. But, yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Now we know.
Indeed.
And knowing is most of the battle.
Yes, it is.
Some would say half.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for emails.
Indeed it is.
If you'd like to send an email, emails at milehighgameguys.com.
Don't cut them off, Adrian.
Sorry. I
bitch.
forgot about that very important part of us hearing emails at milehighgameguys.com
Stupid
for the 10th time.
Yeah. Stupid bitch.
Yeah.
We did also have some feedback to the contentious Rising Sun review.
Yes, we did.
Over on BGG. Zach, do you have those ready?
Yes, I do. So we have 3 in total. The first one is from Daniel. Wow. Adrian really got mad during this episode. I've never seen Adrian this frustrated. Why is Rising Sun so polarizing? Adrian has really disliked games before, but I've never seen this type of anger about it. My opinion is that Rising Sun is more opaque and actually has more depth than Food Chain Magnet. And honestly, it's too opaque, too complex, too much depth, to the point where a lot of people just don't like it. If you played Food Chain Magnet with a casual gamer, they're going to hate it and think they couldn't do anything, make a strategy or anything, and that they just lost and they don't know why. They would say it's not fun, too punishing, no strategy, and too swingy. I have a friend who played Food Chain Magnet with me and said exactly that. No strategy, too chaotic, too swingy. The person just didn't understand the game. If you play Rising Sun with a non-area control type gamer, they're going to hate it and think they couldn't do anything, make a strategy, or anything, and they just lost, and they don't know why. They would say it's not fun, too punishing, no strategy, and too swingy. This is the deepest, most opaque area control game I have ever played. That said, if you don't like area control and you're used to Euro-type strategy, you're going to think Rising Sun has no strategy. I think it just comes down to Adrian doesn't like area control type of interactive thinking.
Which is definitely not wrong.
Yeah.
Like I said, I increasingly have a strong dislike towards area control games. I'm beginning to realize through reviewing them.
Yeah.
The sole exception currently being Game of Thrones, and I think it's because that one is one simplest enough in its mechanics that there's not a lot of extra stuff going on in the area control. Like I liked Ethnos fine as an area control game. It was just everything about the theme and art was so blah. And I think that's another thing that Game of Thrones does well, is like connect super hard to Game of Thrones as a theme.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely agree with Rising Sun being very opaque. I'm not sure how much I agree with Deep. I get Deep in the term in the sense that it's going to take a group a long time to kind of find their own balance, and like that's why it's important, like in a lot of Eric Lane games, to play many times with other people who've played many times, not necessarily with the same group, but I think that those suffer from having new players who don't understand exactly the meta behind the games. But yeah, that game did make me really angry.
Yeah, it did.
I haven't played a game that made me that angry in a long time. Like playing that, I haven't wanted to quit a game in I don't know how long. I wanted to quit certainly the first game we played of that, and pretty close in my second game. Like I really did not enjoy either of my plays of Rising Sun.
Yeah.
I will not ever be playing that game again.
That first game, I almost wanted to quit.
Everybody wanted to. Like
Ant
and Paul have both told me that even if I somehow turned around in my second game and kind of liked it, they wouldn't want to play with me ever again after that first play. It was miserable for all involved.
Right.
I was so unhappy that Megan, who was spectating very briefly, has declined to ever play Rising Sun. I ruined Rising Sun for somebody who wasn't even playing the game.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, God.
All right. Well, not everybody can like it. Not everybody can like every game. So
true.
So speaking of the next comment, so Maciek says, I think that perhaps Adrian's main issue with Rising Sun is that it's a mediocre game trying to mask the fact, but okay. It's a mediocre game trying to mask this fact by stuffing the box full of plastic soldiers. Depth in games like Food Chain Magnet comes from the players, not from rule inflation. Heavy gamers will like it in most cases, and others will get scared away if they don't have a good teacher.
I don't necessarily think that it's well, I do think it's a mediocre game, but I feel that way about almost all Eric Lane games. I understand other people might not feel that way. A lot of people really love Eric Lane games.
Yeah.
But
and a lot of people really love the plastic soldiers they stuff in that box.
And that is especially true, which is also a big problem that I do have with the game. But I don't think it's fair to say that like the depth in Food Chain comes from the players, not the rules. But then say that there's not that same depth in a game like Food Chain or
it's just,
Rising Sun.
I think it's just a different style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I like, and I was kind of there's a huge argument on Slack between Paul and I about this review and my opinions on it. And Food Chain was brought up repeatedly in that discussion too. And I think for me, the big difference is that Food Chain, for you to succeed, you have to have like an adaptive and fluid strategy, which is true for Rising Sun.
Yeah.
The difference is that in a game like Food Chain, it's whoever executes their strategy the best that's going to win. Whereas I feel like in a game of Rising Sun or games like that, it's whoever isn't thwarted. Like it's subtle. Like Rising, there's more like direct. Like I have to get in your way and interfere with what you're doing in Rising Sun.
I would say it's
to keep you from running away with it. Whereas in Food Chain, as long as none of you. There are different kinds of player. Because I was gonna say, as long as none of you get in my way, I'll. But
you can totally price wars and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of interact. It's a subtly different type of interaction.
Yeah,
and I think
And
that
And it's usually more of a like, this is one thing that has changed and not like could be a totally
and
different. I don't know.
and like the
Rising
the
Sun
core
brings
rules
out
for like food chain
Uh-huh.
are super simple, and most of the spotters aren't.
Yeah.
Indonesia's core rule set is super simple.
I put this mailbox here, and that changes this one thing that everyone can kind of get their head around that strategy.
Yeah,
Rising Sun does introduce a whole bunch of variables at
Yes.
once that if you can't comprehend that and plan like try and plan around new variables that have been introduced, then
there's known unknowns and unknown unknowns, and
yeah.
Yeah.
It's if you can wade through the chaos the best in Rising Sun.
Yes. Or it influence someone to stop that
Ex-
one person that's winning.
Yeah, exactly.
And totally fuck their game, but your game's fine.
You can play the people the best.
Yeah.
Last one is from Tom. And he was replying to Maciek's first thing about it being a mediocre game full of plastic soldiers. He goes, "Yes, this remains my stance. Definitely not for me, but I know others have enjoyed it. Still, those that enjoyed it in my group regret the purchase price for the level of enjoyment that they got from it." Which, so far, the two people who bought it, I didn't regret the price I paid for it.
It's a lot cheaper than
I know
would have
Ant's
thought.
pretty
too.
happy with it. Hell,
Yeah.
even Paul, who was originally like for the last 3
Yeah.
months, Paul's been talking about like, oh, I kind of regret backing this, but whatever, I'll just flip it for a bunch of
Mhm.
money. And now he's like, nah, I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah.
So apparently, the 3 in our main group all are happy with their purchase of
Mhm.
it. So
Or you can just flip it for a bunch of money.
you could indeed. So right on. That wraps up all of the listener feedback. If you want to get a hold of us, you can always email us.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on our Board Game Geek Guild number 2731, where Zach does those awesome review, discussion, whatever episode posts, and you can give feedback there. Let your opinion be heard. You can also find all of us over on Twitter. I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
And I'm Jeff_MHGG.
We also have Facebook and Instagram /Mile High Game Guys, and we have milehighgameguys.com, where you can see all of the full episode posts with their show notes and links to all the things we talk about. There's also guest blog posts occasionally, mostly in the form of listener emails that are full of emu images that need to be shared,
Yep.
or ridiculous Roman emperors that may or may not have actually existed. There will also shortly be another one from an email we got that is very image heavy that adds substantially to the email.
Yes.
So you can check that out over on the website from Andrew. So that'll be up on the website, although we did not read through it here. So
The visuals help much more.
Yes.
plenty of ways to get a hold of us. And as always, be sure to check out the other awesome people that are members of Punchboard Media. There's a whole website devoted to a bunch of different content creators. And yeah, thanks for enjoying this episode. Be sure to tune in on Friday for episode 90's top 10 list. This time it'll be episode 90, the top 10 games that play in 90 minutes or less per their box quote, which some of them might play in more than 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Some of them might play substantially under. It'll be kind of all over the place, but it'll be a fun episode. So be sure and check that out. And then we'll be back next week. So thanks everybody for listening. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Goalie Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. But yeah, the flow of history just hit everyone's doorsteps. That's TMJ. TMG.
Isn't that a jaw thing? TMJ or something?
Yeah, I had that once. It sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
Lockjaw.
Yes, it's not it's not like the tetanus lockjaw. It's
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah,
but, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Punchboard Media, where we all
Bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.